This setup has an 85% win rate, and this is the entry I used the most in 2024. Let's look at the reclaim long setup. Now, I use this primarily for ES futures, but this price action works on any individual instrument or stock for options trading also. The first step in a reclaim setup is the failure of a key support area. When this happens, participants in this area are now short, and we expect that area to become overhead resistance on back tests. Sellers are expecting continuation down or a quick back test that is rejected and then continuation down in order to take profits lower. So the thesis with this trade is that if participants in this area are now short and price isn't able to find continuation lower, a reclaim of this area by buyers will cause the sellers to cover their positions, creating a momentum move higher, and then new longs also initiate positions in this area, which creates strong follow through to the upside. The reclaim setup is taking advantage of the combination of short covering and initiative buying for a strong push higher. Let's look at this example of a trade we took in our futures room. We had this 59.80 area as an area of key support, and we saw confirmation of demand in this area by a bounce here early in the morning, which set a low. Then we see price unable to hold this area, and eventually failure of this support led to a flush lower. So now we have short inventory in this area on the failure of this support, so I begin watching for the reclaim to set up. The most important part of the reclaim is to stay patient. I'm watching price on a 15-minute chart because this is a process that takes some time. You want to let price show you that sellers are unable to keep this area offered and that buying pressure is overwhelming sellers in this area. If I'm going to go long on a reclaim of this area, I want to see price push back up to this area, reject, have sellers defend their positions, and then buyers continue to push price back up to the area and hold up in this area. This shows you that sellers are not strong enough to reject here and follow through to new lows, and buyers are beginning to overpower supply here in this area. Each reclaim may look a little different, but what you're looking for is evidence that price is being accepted in this area, unable to find follow through lower, and sellers are having trouble rejecting. You want to see this evidence through time being spent at an area, price pushing several points through the area above, being able to hold above this area. It takes time, so you need to be watching on a 15-minute chart and take your time on these. It's not about price just hitting a trigger or poking back above this level and that buyers are reclaiming this area. That's what's going to cause the shorts to start covering. In this example, we saw obvious lack of ability to see follow through lower. This was immediately bought up and back tested this area. It tried to reclaim this low here and was rejected and then immediately pushed back up. So this entire process took 30 to 45 minutes here. I see price is able to hold up in this area, unable to see continuation lower. I go long here, a few points above this area being reclaimed above this morning low, and then I trim partials into profit, I trim into targets, and then I trail a runner to stay in the majority of this trend move. Now, if you don't have a community that you're trading with, if you're interested in learning more about setups like this, click on the link in the description, join our community where we go over education like this every day. Let's look at another example of a reclaim trade that we took in our room. So first, let's go over a little bit of context for this trade. In the morning, we saw the failure of this 60-64 level. This was a key support area and also the prior day low area. So this was a major support. We saw this fail in the morning. So that kind of sets the context for the day. This was a key pivot, a prior day low failed, and we saw a large liquidation lower. So in this case, we sold down essentially 80 points most of the day with virtually no significant bounce until we got down into this area. So that kind of sets the stage for another reclaim here. You're seeing where we're extremely oversold. We have a large sell-off all day long with no major bounce. So now I'm looking for a reclaim, but also this reclaim has the potential to trigger a bit of a short squeeze, right? A relief rally just to get a bit of a relief bounce from this large sell-off that we saw in the morning. So we sold down into this 6004 support area. We also, like I said, very oversold. We had bullish hidden divergence that had formed at the lows here. So you can see this bullish hidden divergence. After this essentially one-way sell down, we extremely oversold in RSI here and much more oversold here than we were at this previous low, which was back on Monday. So you can see the low that had formed here, RSI a little bit oversold, the same price or actually a little bit of a higher price here, much more oversold. So that kind of gives you some other context where if you have bullish hidden divergence like that, plus a very large sell-off, plus a reclaim, that is the perfect storm for a short squeeze. I have another video on RSI hidden divergence. You should check that out if you haven't looked at that yet. So again, some of the process for the reclaim long setup. we saw price sell into the 6004 area. Initially, we're able to see a bounce and another bounce here, but we're not able to hold above and see continuation higher. So again, the first step of a reclaim is you have to have the failure of a support area. So we saw that failure here again. So now we have short inventory in this area. Sellers are short underneath this 6004 area. They're expecting continuation for another leg lower. We see some continuation down, but then we see price start to kind of put in a little bit of a bottoming base, a little bit of a V-shaped recovery here. So immediately I am starting to look for evidence that buyers may be able to reclaim this area for a reclaim long. So the first thing I'm going to watch for is we had this low set earlier in the day by this bounce here. So one, price is going to need to hold above this low. You see that price attempted to kind of push back above this low and was rejected, but did not see follow through lower. So we saw buyers push price back up. Now again, this is on the 15-minute chart because this is going to take some time. You want to see plenty of evidence that buyers are stronger than sellers in this area and are going to be able to hold this area and then reclaim. So first we saw price able to hold back above this low. This is a good sign. But now what I'm watching is I want to see price show me that it's able to accept this area. It's able to hold up in this area. Buyers are stronger than sellers. Sellers are unable to reject this area. So I'm watching this area where price is starting to base above this low and underneath 6004. Now watching this live, I was able to see price push up, actually test 6004 and reject, push back up and reject, and then finally after about 45 minutes total in this entire area, price is again able to push back up and clear the 6004 area. So you can see a little bit better on this chart, right? So I saw that price first attempted to kind of push back over this low and was rejected. However, buyers continue to step in here at the lows. Price pushes back up, holds above this low, rejects here, pushes up, rejects here. So this entire process here, we've got a nice little base that forms in this area. Again, 45 minutes total. Now I see price is able to hold over 6004, 5-10 minutes here, and then finally price pushes above, farther and farther away from 6004. That's my signal after all the evidence that I have here that shows me that buyers are stronger than sellers in this area. They're reclaiming this area, and I go long about 6007 in this area on this candle here. So I get long in this area about 6007. I'm putting my stop underneath kind of this support structure, underneath this low here, a little bit underneath this low. I take some trims in partials into here, and the majority of my position is trimmed out into this target. Now I'm holding a runner a few points below even to see if we can get continuation of this short squeeze and follow through here. So I'm going to hold that runner and trail that below structure as price continues to develop. We even saw in this example where if this area is truly reclaimed by buyers, then what you're going to see is this area is going to flip once again back to demand on a back test. And we actually saw this into the close where price came back, tested this area, buyers stepped in, kept this area bid for the full retracement of, and we actually saw this trade play out twice, a really nice bounce back. And that's just confirmation that this area has truly been reclaimed by buyers, and we saw a very strong bounce into the close. So let's look at a couple other examples. Like I said, this looks a little bit differently each time. What you're looking for is just the evidence that buyers are stronger than sellers in an area. They're able to hold up in an area and then push through and clear away in that area, and it takes time. So in this example, we saw a lot of basing underneath the area. We saw a rejection here again on the 15-minute chart, and then we saw price continue to push back up and through that area. This is where you can go long on a reclaim. In this example, we didn't see as much basing underneath the level. What we saw is a strong push through the level and then basing kind of flagged back into the level, evidence of a demand here that bounces. So we know that this has been reclaimed because we flagged above for several hours here, back tested it and then pushed away. So any of these areas in here, this is where you can enter on a reclaim. Again, same thing here. You see price push through strongly, then base above and flag back into the level and then bounce. This is another entry here for a reclaim where you see that if price is able to push through, hold above for this entire time, again, that's evidence that buyers have reclaimed this area and sellers were not able to keep this area offered. Buyers are stronger than sellers in this area, and then we're going to see that momentum as sellers begin to cover, short covering and initiative buying, pushing this back up. One last example here where we saw that really nice tight base underneath the area. So again, this takes place over an hour of time where price is basing directly underneath the area of interest. So we saw this area fail here, very tight base over an hour, and then push away, clear the area and continue to push higher. This is where you can enter for a reclaim trade. That's how I use price analysis to take advantage of sellers being positioned offsides. Using the reclaim setup combines short covering and initiative buying. Start watching for reclaim setups in your own trading, increase your win rate, catch some nice momentum moves.